What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to help out the channel, additionally you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to all of you high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Additionally, you can always use that TCGplayer link in the description down below, or as always, liking, commenting, and subscribing will help the channel out. Now let's get into today's Deck Tech with Indominus Rex. And guys, this card's a lot more explosive than I initially thought. You'll find that you really only need to discard 1 to 2 creatures with keyword soup on them to not only draw a ton of cards, honestly a fresh new grip, you'll also have a giant beater on the battlefield with keyword soup on him, and then you can easily just smash face, deal 21 damage, and start taking some people out. You'll find also with some minimal setup, like using Per here, we can double up on all of those keyword counters and draw double the cards. Not to mention, if you have Per on the battlefield, you know you have Toothy, and then whenever you draw all of those cards, he's going to get massive. I found that you can easily make this guy 20 power to 40 in this deck if you have blink effects, which is another thing that's going to be incredibly busted with this creature. You might find that, I just want to keep smashing face, but no guys, blinking this again and again, drawing your entire library, is honestly incredibly impactful and gets you to those key pieces you need to start taking your opponents out. Honestly, with a different build, you could definitely go combat, but here I kind of just wanted to smash face. We did include Gerard as a secondary win con because I found that you can actually get creatures to 40 power, so I was like, hey, if we're making creatures 40 power, we might as well have a way to kill everybody on the board all at once. One more thing I did include that I thought was kind of funny, we can move indestructible counters around, which I kind of leaned heavily into indestructible, hexproof, the more impactful keywords, and then threw in keyword soup. So initially you kind of just want to discard something with indestructible and then something with 3 random keywords on it, and then you have an indestructible commander that's really hard to deal with and does a lot whenever he attacks. So we can take and move around those indestructible counters onto things that should never have indestructible on them, like Nivendrel's Disc. So now we have a way to lock out the board, permanently wiping the board, and as long as we can proliferate that indestructible counter, making sure our commander still has indestructible, that's going to be a solid soft lock, and we can just start killing people. So if you want to get into this deck tech, you want to see the rest of the absurd stuff I added, let's get into it. We're going to kick it off by talking about all of the keywords. Now, I really wanted to focus hard on indestructible, so the gods are going to be amazing here. Not only do they all give you indestructible, but then they all give you unique keywords after that, such as Death Touch, Menace, and Flying. Stonehoof Chieftain, this guy's going to be awesome. You'll get Trample and indestructible. Notably, Trample's going to be pretty important because we will be trying to do 21 damage to our opponents. Venom Thrope and Carnage Tyrant, if we can't give them indestructible, let's give them Hexproof. Scavenged Brawler is an all-star in this deck. He's going to give you 4 very impactful keywords. Then we went for haste enablers. Gurmag, Questing Beast, Enrage Forerunners, and Vengeful Reaper are all going to be solid word soup cards while also giving our commander haste. From there, I took the shotgun approach. If it had 3 keywords, we threw it in the deck. Triplicate Titan, Nighthawk Scavenger, Vampire Nighthawk, Elder Gargaroth are all going to be solid cards that have a lot of keywords and can be pretty impactful if we get them on the battlefield. Moving on, let's talk about the counter synergies. We're running Per Imaginary Rascal and Whining Constrictor. These will double up on the amount of counters our commander enters with, doubling up on our card draw. Not to mention, if you're running Per, you get Toothy, and Toothy gets massive in this deck very quickly. It's not uncommon to get Toothy in this deck to over 20 power, and I've been able to get him over 40. He's one of the reasons why Gerard is a solid win con in this deck. Arwen and Master Biomancer are going to be extremely solid to just buff our commander whenever he enters the battlefield, as well as everything else. Additionally, if we start throwing 1/1 counters on them, it gets absurd very quickly. Glenalindra is going to be an amazing source of counter magic in this deck, especially if we have Master Biomancer or Arwen on the battlefield. They will cancel out her negative counter, giving you near infinite counter spells. Bio Guy is going to be a solid mana dork that just throws an extra counter on our commander, drawing us an extra card. The Great Hinge is going to be super solid. Whenever we blink our commander, we're going to throw an additional counter on him and draw a card because of the Great Hinge. So you're essentially getting 2 cards off of this while getting ramp and a little bit of life gain. Pretty broken. Gavel of the Righteous. I like this here because it comes down early, starts getting some counters, and with the right setup such as a Per or Whining Constrictor on the deck, we can easily get over 6 counters by the time we cast our commander and start one-shotting people. Goldberry is a solid kind of Ozolith in the deck. We can easily move all of the counters of each type from our commander onto Goldberry and then blink our commander to get some value, and then we can move all of those counters back onto our commander to draw a card and again save the counters we already had on him. Additionally, we can do some pretty janky stuff with her, like move an indestructible counter on a Navendrel's disc and just board wipe everything to oblivion every turn. That sounds fun to me. The Ozolith, another solid way to save all of the counters on our commander. That way we ensure that he gets to keep his keywords and just in general keeps getting bigger. Myojin of Towering Might. If we can get 2 indestructible counters on this guy, which we do run a couple ways to do that, through Proliferation or again Goldberry, we can easily take both of those out and add 16 counters to our commander, easily getting him above that 21 power threshold, and we can start again one-shotting our opponents. Additionally, throwing 8 counters on something like an Arwen or a Master Biomancer is gonna be pretty busted, especially when we blink our commander. That's just going to draw us an additional 8 cards. Don't deck yourself, guys. Staff of Completion. I've been very surprised by this card every time I've casted it. If you need card draw, you got it. Ramp, you got it. If you want to proliferate, you got it. If you've got enough mana, you can untap it and do multiple of those a turn. It's just a very flexible card. Sword of Truth and Justice. Not only does this throw a counter on our commander, we can start proliferating all of the counters on him. That doesn't do much unless we can move them around with something like Goldberry, but again, proliferating all of our 1/1 counters. If we have the Gavel out, we can proliferate those Righteous counters, so it's going to be solid. Nesting Grounds is another solid way we can start moving our counters around, giving our important pieces indestructible, or again, Niv's Disc. I like that idea. The Mimeoplasm is going to be absolutely busted in this deck. There's a lot of pieces that we would want to reanimate with this guy, such as Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. Another thing we can do is if we lose our commander, we can bring him back with the Mimeoplasm and draw a ton of cards. Correct me if I'm wrong, judges out there, but I'm pretty sure you're going to get your commander's trigger and the Mimeoplasm trigger, and you will draw cards equal to the number of counters on him, which can be an insane amount since we are discarding some pretty massive creatures. Slippery Bog Bonder, a solid way to give our commander hexproof, while additionally we can take all of those counters on Toothy over there, shove them on our commander, get him up to that 21 power threshold, and again start one-shotting people. Canker Bloom is a solid way to not only get more indestructible counters on our Mojin, it's also just solid removal in the deck. Bane of Progress, again a solid removal piece that also does synergize with our 1/1 counters. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider, again we're running this guy to double up on all of our counters, get double the card draw, and generate a ton of 1/1 counters. Moving on to the core of the deck, we have some Blink Synergies with Sword of Hearth and Home and Thassa Deep Dwelling, just a solid way to get the ETB on our commander again, to discard some more creatures, draw some more cards, and get some more impactful keywords on him. Deadeye Navigator, now this one can cause some pretty insane board states. As long as we have mana and a lot of fodder to discard, this can really result in us drawing our deck. This is what leads me to believe you could make this a combo deck if you wanted to, but honestly, I just wanted to smash face. So what we're going to use this guy for is making our Toothy massive and then sacrificing him to something like a Gerard to kill the whole board, or moving all of those counters to our commander to start one-shotting people. Threats Undetected and Shared Summons. This can get your keyword soup creatures to your hand, that way you can discard them. Notably, I found a solid group of cards to grab with the Threats Undetected. Now this is what's in your hand dependent, but 9 times out of 10, this is going to be solid. Grab yourself a Ronus, a Carnage Tyrant, you need Vengeful Reaper, and then last but not least, grab that Elder Gargaroth. Now they have to choose between giving you 6 keywords or some very good protection. Notably, if they do choose Carnage Tyrant and God Eternal Ronus, it's going to give you that Trample Death Touch synergy while also giving you Indestructible and Hexproof. Probably shouldn't go that route, but if they do, take the opportunity and start smashing face. Just to touch on the Death Touch Trample synergy, you only have to assign 1 damage no matter what blocks you, because Trample says you only have to assign lethal. So yeah, that's the synergy. It's busted. Moving on, we have Gerard. Again, there's just a plethora of cards in the deck that get massive, including that Mimeoplasm and our commander. Toasty going to be a solid creature to draw some cards while also being indestructible, so we'll take it. Greater Good is solid. We can sacrifice our massive creatures to draw a lot of cards. Hunter's Insight is usually risky because they can remove your commander whenever you cast this, but not in this deck because we have a plethora of cards that give us indestructible or hexproof. Agadeem's Awakening can be super super solid in the deck, bringing all our important pieces back from the graveyard to the battlefield. Grave Purge is going to be awesome to get all of those keyword creatures we need back from the graveyard on top of our library. Then we draw into them, cast our commander again, and he's just as broken as he was before. Urza's Saga is in the deck mostly to either grab Soul Ring or the Ozolith. Inventor's Fair also very flexible in the deck. It can get anything from our Ozolith. If we need Blink, we've got Sword of Hearth and Home, or we've got Sword of Truth and Justice if we need that proliferation. Moving on to Ramp, Burgeoning and Exploration are going to be perfect in this deck. If your deck has the ability to draw a ton of cards, including these, can really catapult you in front of your opponents. Elves of Deep Shadows and Birds of Paradise are just some solid mana dorks. 3 Visits, Nature's Lore, Farseek, the staples. Sylvan Carotid is solid here. It has hexproof, and remember, our commander does not copy Defender, so it can just be another solid card to give our commander hexproof if we need to in a pinch. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach, I love these here because our commander does have an odd casting cost, so this is going to give us perfect color fixing and make sure we always have lands in our hand. Selvala is going to tap for an insane amount of mana in this deck. Plus, she's going to be amazing for our Blink shenanigans. As long as our commander's entering and it's the biggest creature on the battlefield, we're just going to get more card advantage. Soul Ring is obviously going to be included as well. Moving on to our interaction, I'll keep it short and sweet. We have Swang Song, an offer you can't refuse. Beast Within, a solid card to get rid of any permanent that's causing us issues. Nivendrel's Disc, remember, if we get an indestructible counter on this, it's extremely busted. And then we have Mandate of Abaddon. Our commander's pretty massive, so casting this should be able to remove everything except for him on the field. That's going to do it for the deck tech, guys. Hey, if you want to see more of these Dino deck techs, they're going to be coming out all week, so don't forget to subscribe. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my patrons. I couldn't do it without you guys. You guys are amazing. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.